Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. Welcome to the holiday edition of our work-life balance discussion with some really amazing business coaches today. I am Emily, and I am so excited to share the stage with four incredible women today. I'm the marketing manager at Cast Iron, where we're building the world's first small business management platform built specifically for food. We were built for the average American to quickly start, run, and grow their business all from their homes online. Our business owners sell food, cooking classes, and pretty much anything else related to food that you can think of, all from the comfort of their homes, which is pretty awesome. I definitely feel blessed to get to play a small part in that. So thank you for joining us tonight. Like I said, today we're hearing from some of the brightest minds in business, who I will let introduce themselves in a moment. We can get started. So,
hey, Emily, I have a question before
yes.
we get started. Is this is recorded? Will people be able to access it later?
Yes, absolutely. This is recorded. We will post it on our YouTube channel, and we will send it out to everyone who has registered. We'll send it out to our panelists so they can share it with their audiences. We will make sure that you have this recording.
Awesome.
I'm going to start with what I have on my screen, which is Melissa. Melissa, do you want to introduce yourself first?
Absolutely. Hello to everyone for coming. I am honored to have you here today. I know that your time is super precious, so thanks for being here. I'm Melissa Fryer, the CEO and the main mentor at Build a Better Bakery. You may have seen me around, you may have not. What I do is I work with a tight-knit team of military spouses, and we support bakers from all over the world to create more joyful businesses by making the process simple and successful at the same time. So we try to simplify things for you one step at a time, and we like to use genuine connection and expertise to get that done. So when I'm not mentoring, I am baking for my tiny secluded military community I was telling the ladies about a few minutes ago in the desert. And I like to tend to my many plants to keep me sane because I live in a place with like no plants. So that's what I do in my free time. And I wanted to thank Cast Iron for asking me to be here.
Awesome. Ooh. Next on my screen is Brette.
Oh. Hi, I'm Brette. I run the Out of Home Baker on Instagram. I'm a stay-at-home mom of two, and I run my own baking business from home. And about a year and a half ago, I decided to become the resource that I wish I had had when I started, because there's a lot to figure out. You know, there's like obviously the perfect buttercream and all that, but there's also the business side. And so that's where I come in. I like to teach people how to price their cakes, how to get customers, how to grow their businesses so that they can have success, make a profit, and still love what you do. I'm all about not sacrificing yourself to your business. But yeah, I'm here in Utah, and I've been doing cakes for about 5 years, 3 years officially, like when I actually licensed everything. But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Perfect. Sid, you are up next.
Hi, I'm Sid Mitchell, and I am a full-time business coach and consultant in the food and beverage industry. I'm the CEO of the Sugar Coin Academy. I'm an accountant. I'm a financial analyst. So I went to business school at the University of North Carolina, Keenan-Flagler's Business School, and everything I talk about is related to business and numbers, as well as tech, to help you guys with building your baking and sweets businesses. I recently just came back from the International Baking Industry Expo, where I taught a class on social media, one on pricing and one on beyond social media, which is about email marketing and text message marketing. So those are all the things that I really enjoy talking about. And IBIE, which is the International Baking Industry Expo, happens every 3 years. I was also the host of the celebrity stage as well as the competition stage. And I'm a business blogger for the Retail Bakers of America, as well as a business columnist for the American Cake Decorating magazine, which that means that you'll see my articles every single time there's an issue, because I have this Sweet Boss column that is in the magazine, as well as I've taught for Pastry Arts magazine, and been on Forager podcasts. I've been on quite a few different things. So everything's numbers and business related. And then also I organize the largest baking and sweets trade show that happens in Georgia called the Ultimate Sugar Show. So that's me in a nutshell. I absolutely love watching TV and streaming all kinds of fun things, whether it is like messy drama, like 90 Day Fiance. Don't get me started on that. I love me 90 Day Fiance. And I'm currently binging the original, not the House of the Dragon, the other one, Game of Thrones. So now we're wrapped up in Game of Thrones, and we'll be on House of the Dragon here pretty soon. So anything related to drama or TV or something like that, that's usually my Jimmy Jam. So that's me in a nutshell.
I love it. Amanda, you are last but certainly not least.
Awesome sauce. Thank you so much. Apologies in advance for the little tweak in the voice, but I am Amanda Schonberg. I'm the founder of Baking for Business. I am also a business blogger as well for Pastry Arts Magazine. I love talking about the business side of baking. I own and operate an award-winning desserts catering company here in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I've been operating within the membership framework for over 5 years. I have my own group coaching membership, which is the entrepreneur community. I'm also a member of the Facebook Leaders Network, which is really awesome. So I just came back from speaking on Capitol Hill about cottage laws and rights and just ways that we can actually increase operating our home baking businesses. When I'm not helping bakers build their business, then usually every Wednesday, I run the Baking for Business podcast, which is just another resource that, just like Brette says, provides people with all the things I wish I had when I first started. So that is my jam, just helping bakers to generate their sales and increase their revenue. Some of my work has been featured on Fox, NBC. I've also been hired by brands such as Facebook, International Cake Decorating Society, as well as work with companies like ACD, just to spread the sweet message along. So that's it.
Man, I told everybody on this panel before that I felt like I was in the presence of some VIPs, some celebrities, but I mean, I just learned something new about every single person who introduced themselves, and I feel even more so. So we have such an amazing group. Thank you all so much for joining us. Obviously, our topic today is all about work-life balance, but specifically, as we are heading into a very busy time for a lot of bakers, a lot of food businesses in general, the holidays can be kind of a mess. You take on too much, you need to make a certain amount of money. You know, there's so many factors that, you know, if you don't get one right, it can feel like you're just lost. you're drowning. So I feel like a good place to start is just with, what is work-life balance to you? How do you define it personally? Because everybody kind of, I've learned, has a different perspective. Let's start with Sid.
Good thing I planned for this one. But no, so I would say that what it is to me is about prioritizing activities, right? So I understand that we call it work-life balance, but like even in life, there's still like work you have to do, right? Like, so doing laundry and cleaning your house and, you know, whatever, unless you have a maid or something like that, right? So at that time, like, I feel like prioritizing activities is the way I would define it. And so it's basically making sure that I prioritize the things that I need to do so that I can do the things that I want to do, right? So that's a main point to me. And I have my aha moment that I'll talk about later because there's some colliding there.
Oh no collisions, please. Amanda, how would you define work-life balance?
I would say the same. It's definitely prioritizing, but also discipline as well. You know, sometimes we can't pour from an empty cup. So if there is no balance, then one is going to tip over. So it's making sure that we prioritize ourselves when it comes to life, meaning our family, if we're a spouse, you know, just our personal goals and community clubs and things we do in our community, prioritizing so that we can be present in the moment so that we can be better business owners. I don't think there's you know, one better than the other, but balance definitely comes into play with both. So it's being present and having the discipline in order to set boundaries so that you can operate effectively in both areas.
I love that you said not to pour from an empty cup. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. Because I feel like the 5 best things you can do to keep yourself in business is like sleep, eat, get some exercise, like take care of yourself, do those basic things. Otherwise, your business will shut down because you're shut down. I love that you said that. I think that's awesome.
Thank you, beautiful. And you are right, because especially in our industry, we have all these titles, that we kid around with like, I'm sure, Melissa, Sid, everyone's heard baker, burnout, or procrastinate. And, while they're jokes to say, it's actually not funny, because that comes from a place of, if we're really procrastinating, if we're really burnt out, why are we not addressing the issues of what's causing us to burn out? Where are we not applying discipline to? And that's really what being a business owner is. It's about taking ownership of not just the gifts and the products that you put out there, but just taking ownership of how you run your business so that you can show up more effectively in your business and in your personal life.
Could not have said it better myself, seriously. Mic drop on that one. Brette, how would you define it?
No, I think we get hung up on this word balance because it makes it sound like we're this picture perfect tightrope walker, like we've got it all together. And I don't really like that word, because to me, it's more about work life, like managing it, because balance just sounds like this kind of rose-colored glass to me. So it's like every day I'm learning how to manage my work-life balance better. And I definitely don't do it perfectly. There are times when I could do better and times when I definitely feel it. But what I always like to remember is why I went into business in the first place. And as someone who's, just based from home and it's just me, I don't have a team. And that's what so many of the home bakers we talk to, that's what they're like. What I like to remember is why I went into business in the first place. And it was to do what I love and to free up my time, because there was a time when I was like, I'm going to have to go get a job. And like, to make ends meet, I'm going to have to go and work somewhere at like 6 a.m. My mother-in-law is going to have to watch my kids. And thank goodness she talked me out of that and was like, no, you have a gift and a talent. You're supposed to use it. And what I like to remember is that's why I started, was so I could be at home with my kids and so that I could have control of my life and do what I love and make a profit. And there has to be these moments where I stop and say like, okay, is this like, it's like the means is taking over the end. The end is that I have this life that I love, that I get to be at home. And the bakery is the way that I do it. But sometimes it goes the other way around and it feels like I'm just getting through the day so that I can get the cakes done and I'm just a hot mess. So every day it's about learning to manage just the schedule and the demands that you have on your time, learning to say no to things so that you can, be present, like Amanda was saying, because in the end, that's when life is fulfilling, when you're present and when you're not so hung up on what's coming next or what was behind. You can just enjoy those moments. And I think, just learning to manage that every day and knowing too that if you have a bad day, it's not the end of the world. It means you get to learn from it and try again tomorrow.
Absolutely. Yes. No day can be perfect all the time, right?
Absolutely not.
If only. Melissa, how would you define work-life balance?
So definitely all of what these ladies are talking about. For me, after I've been doing this for like 16 years, so it's just gotten to the point where I like to pay myself with time. So I do that first. Like whenever I'm scheduling anything out, I always pay myself and I pay my family before I'm like, oh, I'm available this day or not. That's the first way that I try to balance it, right? Try to like feed into the cups, right? Everything that they're talking about is essentially the same thing, but that's how I tend to go for it. And then also I did a lot of like self-work on boundary setting. So like the saying no and the respecting my time so my clients respect my time. All of those actions that I can do to help me not want to stop baking, because like Brette was saying, it just gets really overwhelming. So I have to really make myself cut that part out for me. And then I can serve at my highest level the rest of the time. But that one section, and then being able to spend the money I make, right? Like I can just make money, like that's fine, but I want to do something fun. Like I want to take my family out, or I want to have an experience or whatever it is. But if I'm baking all the time, I can't do that. So that's kind of how I deal with that.
100%. Yeah. No point in doing all the work if you can't enjoy the fruits of your labor.
Yeah.
And Emily, I was going to say, like, what a shame it is, right, to be in business for yourself and not be able to enjoy the freedom that comes with being a business owner. Like, that doesn't feel like the right life for me. Like, I would rather get paid on somebody else's job and have PTO and have paid for insurance.
It's like, have you guys, oh, sorry, Sid, keep going.
No, I was going to say, I would rather have all the benefits. If I'm going to work myself to death, then I might as well like get PTO, paid for vacation, as opposed to like having the freedom to just get up and go to Las Vegas and do a cake show or whatever. Like I would rather have my time to myself. So I feel like, building a life that is entrepreneurship, that is focused around the life that I want, and work just kind of like is there to pay bills.
I was gonna say, it's like if you've ever seen the meme where it's like, I quit my 9-to-5 so that I could work 24/7. And that's how it feels. And it shouldn't be that way. Like we're our own worst boss.
Yeah, gotta be a good boss. Give that time off.
Yeah. Yeah. Don't make yourself quit. Don't make your only employee quit.
Man, 100%. So that actually leads me into a great segue into our next question. Talking about, have you ever had an aha moment that like just made you realize like, whoa, I need to put on the brakes. Like, you miss your child's birthday party because you were working on someone else's kid's cake or something like that. Like, have you had that moment, and how did you face that? Sid, I know you had that. You said you had a good one, but I would love to hear everyone's.
Absolutely. Yeah. One of mine was for sure, I remember it was actually around the holidays, and my holidays usually are spent with, everybody spends time with family and everything. But I mean, like family members had like come in from out of town. And I remember, I'm going to set a picture for you. My family is in what we would call like the living room, the family room. Everybody's watching movies, giggling, having a great time. It's like everybody's having so much fun. It's the holidays. Drinks are flowing. It's amazing. And I'm in the other room and the glow of the computer screen. And I'm like doing admin work because I feel like this is what needs to be done at this time, because I can't let it go because no one else is going to do it. And, all the things. And I remember at that moment, I felt so sad. I just wanted to cry. I wanted to just hang out with everybody else and have a good time. But no, I was like working. I can't even remember at this point. I can't even remember what the project was. I just remember feeling so alone and so sad. And at that moment, I was like, something has got to change. Like my life and the way that I've set up my business has got to change. And it took like little steps at a time to get to the point where I am now. But at this, at that point, I was just, it was the worst, worst feeling.
I think that comes in, I definitely understand that, Sid. I think that comes in because sometimes we glorify the hustle. We feel like we have to just grind in order to build. And you said a valid point earlier too, if I wanted to do all this, I would have put in time. Sometimes when we're on a job, we leave the job and then we bring all of those SOPs, those standard operating procedures on a job to our business. And we can't necessarily do that, so when you're on a job, you can request time off and, there are things that you can do. But when you're in a business, you have to make sure that you have systems and processes and things that work for you. A lot of times I hear people say, I pulled an all-nighter, or, oh, this is everything I did off 2 hours of coffee. And I'm like, that's not a badge of honor. That's a lack of discipline. And so a lot of times that comes from prioritization. So you're definitely not alone. I know I've had that time before. I used to sell my desserts on Uber Eats. And one time the app was going off, the orders were coming in, and I was literally trying to be like a Krispy Kreme, be open 24/7, because when you're on the platform, the longer you're on the platform, the more orders come in. But I was literally dozing off at my house in between orders. And it's like, no, I had to stop and realize I can't have a scarcity mindset. If I walk away, money is still going to flow. And sometimes I think that's a lot of what we think. So that's why we end up having those moments, which lead to aha moments, because generally we operate from, I got to chase it, I got to do it, I got to do it. And if I let go, then it's going to fall apart. So we have to make sure that we build and we use systems to help us build so that it doesn't fall apart. So I definitely understand that one.
Which is definitely where the shift came in, right? And that's when the systems were, and at the time I had some systems, but definitely not as many as I have now. And I wasn't using automation as much as I am now. I wasn't using the team that I have now. So there definitely was a shift. And I was one of those, like, if you don't work, you don't eat, right? Like I came into entrepreneurship and being self-employed, like if I don't work, I don't eat. That's it. And once I shifted my mindset several years ago, then things started to change up. And so I feel like that was probably one of the most pivotal aha moments. There have been several along the way over the past few years. But that was like, I feel like the one that really sticks out of just, I didn't want to have that feeling anymore. And right now I don't have children and I eventually will. And I don't want to be that mom that's like, I don't want to be crying because I'm missing Christmas with my kids too. Like right then I was crying because I was missing Christmas with everybody else, but I especially don't want to miss a first Christmas or a third Christmas or whatever, because I've prioritized work over them. And so that's why everything has just shifted over the years of, I want to make sure that I'm available whenever my parents call. My parents are moving to Atlanta. So like right now I want to be able to just pick up and go to Tennessee and help them pack up so that we can have everything in the new house in Atlanta. So I just, but I feel like had I not made the changes that I did back then I wouldn't be able to have the freedom to do that now.
We're laying the groundwork.
Yes, definitely.
Both Sid and Amanda, I feel like they were both talking about a really similar mindset shift of, Sid was saying, if I don't work, I don't eat. And Amanda was talking about this like badge of honor of the hustle that we wear. And I feel like both of those come from this place of fear. If you boil it down, it's this fear that if I stop, the orders won't keep coming. I think it boils down to, we keep ourselves running and running because we're afraid that if we stop, the money stops coming in, or we don't get food on the table, or we're falling behind. And more than even learning to change our actions, I think first we have to switch our mindset that money will keep coming in, the orders are still going to be there, and that we can take more control back and just kind of have trust and faith in that process, that there is abundance, there's not scarcity, and that we can act from a place of control rather than fear. And if we make decisions based out of courage rather than fear, they're going to be better decisions.
Couldn't agree more. 100%. Brette, while you've got the mic,
I think I stole it from Melissa. Melissa, you go ahead, and then we'll come back to me.
We've got time for everyone, thankfully.
Okay. Well, I'm going to go because it's a story that's about your little kid. And so Sid was saying she's going to have, okay, so this is what happened. As if, think, okay, you've got a kid now. I was first time mom and I worked all like up until 8 months. I was like, all right, I'm just going to keep going. I felt good. Everything was fine. Had the baby. Everything was good. About 3 months after that, I thought I'm going to start taking cake again. I was just doing high-end cake out of my house. That's, lots of weddings and things like that. It was wedding season because she was born in January. So I'm starting to take all these orders, and it was just a moment. I'm in there decorating this cake. My husband was in command at the time, meaning that means he's gone for like 12 to 16 hours a day, that he's just not home. And I lived in the middle of nowhere with no family, no support, like really no neighbors. And she was just laying in her bassinet screaming at me. And I'm over there decorating this 3-tier wedding cake, thinking to myself, this ain't worth it. Like, this is so stressful and I'm not having fun. This doesn't feel good. This cake is going to be worse off because I'm not, I'm tired. I'm super stressed right now. So that was the first time really since I'd started working for myself, because many of my years were spent professionally designing for other bakeries, super small rural ones, all the way up to $1 million bakery in St. Louis. So I've seen basically the inside of a lot of different bakeries. But doing it alone, like Brette was saying, no one was there to take over or help me. Like, it just had to get done. And I was looking at her and I just thought, you know what, I'm not going to stop, but I'm going to raise my prices so much that it's going to like hopefully turn off a lot of people. And I'll just take the really big orders and maybe get like a friend or a sitter to come over next time or something like that. But that was also my first lesson in pricing psychology, because like I raised all all my numbers, and like a ton of people came out of the woodwork like, oh yeah. So it didn't actually work, but I was able to start paying myself with the time. So I like kind of did it all at the same time because I was so stressed. And it was like the aha that you're talking about, like, I cannot continue to do this. Like this is just, the way I put it is, how much, if I was sitting on a couch in my pajamas, how much money would you have to pay me for me to get up and turn on the oven and do all that? That's my minimum now. So like, that's like where we're at.
I love it. The pajama test.
Like, if I'm like watching a movie, how much is this dollar amount? Like, that's how much I need.
Yes. Brette, what is your aha moment if you've had one?
Yeah, no, I've had several, right? Like we all do. I would say one that really defined my business and made a big shift in the direction I went was after my first year of officially starting. It's 2019. I officially get started and I'm licensed to get all my registration, and I start going, and then obviously COVID happens. But I feel like for a lot of us bakers, stuff just kind of kept going, and that wasn't the case for everybody, but for me, I was like, business kept going. And things got so busy, and I remember weekends doing like eight cakes in a week and doing so much, and I felt like I ran. And then that at the end of that year, I sat down to do our taxes, because I do all of our family finances, and I'm doing our taxes, breaking down the numbers and looking at what I made. And as I looked back on my books, I realized I had only made about $400 a month that like stayed in my pocket. And that was like, what the heck was I running for? Like, that's nothing. And I realized that busy didn't equal success. You can keep yourself busy real easy, but it doesn't mean you're going in the direction you want to. And it doesn't mean you're hitting your goals. And so I decided, I was going to take a break and figure things out. I took a month or two off where I just didn't take orders. I was like, I need to do some back end work. I need to get things in shape before I keep trying to go at this. So I took time off, and I decided to, instead of working harder, I'm going to work smarter. And I did what Melissa did. I raised my prices. I threw out cupcakes. I'm like, I'm not a cupcake person. I don't like doing these. They don't bring in the profit. I'm not as good at them. And I focused on what I did love doing and what really attracted my customers. And that was my wedding cakes. And I decided I'm going to keep teaching classes because I love doing that. And people love coming to those. And that really lights me up and is good for my business. And so I threw out the weeds and everything that wasn't taking me in the right direction. And it was a great just turning point for everything. And it's only grown from there. And that's what I would tell any baker to do, is like, be brave enough to give yourself a week or a month to really sit down and think about have a plan. Like, what direction do I want to go in? Look at your past. What has worked? What's really not serving you anymore? And chuck it, get rid of it. Don't keep doing it, and do the things that'll take you in the right direction.
Oh, I love that. So when we think about vacations and weekends, speaking from my perspective as someone who is not a food business owner, vacations, weekends, I don't really think about it. Like Sid said earlier, I have PTO. I just cash that in and we're good to go. But
Must be nice.
I know it is.
Way to take your shift.
But for food business owners, a lot of the busiest times are the weekends. You've got your orders due on Saturday and Sunday for events and things like that. So how do you guys think about vacations and weekends and things like that? Whether it's a Christmas vacation or just like I want to take 2 days off and go to the beach or something like that. Especially when those busy times are usually the weekends. I'll switch up the order. We'll start with Melissa again.
Me? Okay. So for me right now, it's a little bit easier because my spouse has a extremely reliable work schedule that's planned out 3 years in advance. I know that sounds crazy, but that is how their schedule works. So I can look through, and they have what's called a 4-day weekend, and they have one every month. So I just try to like double schedule that 4-week. I try not to work it all there. And then during the week, I like just to offer regular offers. So I'm still helping people out. I also create products that are shelf stable for more than a couple days too. So if I needed to drop it off on a Thursday, it would be okay for a couple days. But I'm just not available. I don't know. I'm working from home as well. So if I had a shop or something similar, I would just have a manager or someone that I trusted who would have the key and would come in and open and be there when I'm not there, would have access to all the information, that kind of thing. And having that type of person that's working with you is really important if they're going to be taking care of, your storefront and your money and handing out all the orders. And then if you've got cakes that you have to make early, a couple days early, if you wrap them well, they should be okay depending what's on them. So you can make everything Wednesday, Thursday, and then just head on out and have someone else hand them out.
I love it. Do you ever have customers try to get in contact with you or text you or Facebook message you or anything like that, like when you're on vacation, and then what do you do?
Yeah. So I'm kind of back and forth about this because I think you should have those strong boundaries that I mentioned at the very beginning, finding out what those are for you, what you feel comfortable with. I'm okay talking to my current clients when I'm not working, because a lot of them, like I mentioned, I live in a really tiny place. Like I see these people every day. I see them in the kid pickup line. I see them at the grocery store. There's only like 6,000 people who live here, and we are just around each other all the time. So I'm in contact with them because I know them and we're friendly. I just let them know, like, hey, if it's something business related, I'll get back to you in the AM. I respond to them, but I don't necessarily go through all the steps that you would have to do to complete an order, because I realize in the baking industry, a lot of people shop around. So they'll send out like 6 messages to 6 different bakers, and it's whoever like gets back to them first, within the first few people or contacts them, that's who they're going to go with. So I think having like even just an automated message that's like, hey, this is how you can contact me if it's an emergency. I have my phone. I personally put my phone number up there because if people have problems with their product or whatever, I want them to be able to contact me. So I'm not really strict about that, I guess, but just having the auto message and then just letting them know I'll get back to you basically is kind of how I deal with that.
Yeah, I think that's the approach that a lot of people take. And I'm surprised at how many people don't know about Facebook's like automatic reply feature. Like, what a lifesaver.
Yeah, and then the questions where it's like, where are you located? What are your hours?
Yep.
And I put in there like that minimum we were talking about, because it just means I don't take the smaller stuff anymore. I take all the big stuff, the promotions, the weddings, all of that. Yep. So they know right away. So it's a self-selecting opportunity too, to where you're not spending your time talking to people who weren't a good fit anyway, because they can just look quickly at that.
Yes. Amazing. And if you guys are in our Facebook group for cast iron, it's called The Kitchen. We'll share some tips on how you can set those auto responders and forms kind of things up to make your life a little bit easier.
Hey, real quick, can we, sorry, there's some questions in the chat that we should probably.
Yeah,
think
I'm
we're
gonna
gonna
save
go to the end.
the questions.
Oh,
for
you're
the
gonna save them
end.
till the end. Okay, good. Okay.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Sid, I would love to know how you think about vacations and weekends since you just came back from a expo.
Yes, so definitely boundaries. You have to make sure that you show people what your boundaries are, right? So definitely I set an out of office when I was gone, but I didn't just kind of like leave it, right? So there was always someone monitoring just in case there was like an emergency or some type of fire that needs to be put out. But there was, to me, that's part of the systems, right? Of being able to have this out of office or an automatic response. One of the other things that I do as well is scheduling my emails. And so I know that there's a couple questions in there about like, what systems do you use? That's one of my key things because I am an entrepreneur and because I can set my own schedule, I actually do a lot of things at 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning. That's just because that's how my clock works, right? Like I can get most of my stuff done when it's super quiet and nobody's messaging me and, whatever. So, but I don't send out those messages at 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. I schedule it within the business hours. And so that goes along with, vacation or whatever. Like I may have had some downtime during vacation and I could have responded to the emails, but I'm not going to respond to them until after it said my out of office was over. So it's scheduled for, September, whatever, when I got back. That's when the email sent when I was back in the office, even though the office is where I'm in, wherever I am. So
Amanda, thoughts on vacations and weekends?
I think they're definitely necessary because the first thing you should pencil in is yourself. I'm more kind of like what Sid said, leaning on those systems. Also, another thing I think, one of the biggest things I see bakers do is when people reach out, we complain. We're like, I can't believe they asked this question, or I can't believe they asked that question. But when you flip the script, if they're asking a question, that means it's because it's something that they didn't understand. So you're able to better respond when you actually listen. So like one of the things aside from the automatic response, like for email, even on my order form, what I love with the order form is that when you complete it, it tells you when I'm going to get back to you. And if you fill out an order form on Friday or Saturday, when I know I'm the most busiest, I'm not getting back to you until Monday. I'm really firm on boundaries. I believe you train people how to treat you. And there has to be a disconnect because I'm not Walmart. So you can't text my personal number, nothing like that. When you do, I'm going to redirect you. But it's using those replies on social media, Facebook, Instagram, setting up those FAQs so that the questions people have, you're there answering them and you're serving them, but you don't have to physically do it to be there. Then, and then setting up those auto replies, scheduling things. But I know the weekends is the busiest time. But as bakers, I don't feel we should work every single weekend. If you look at it, we are bakers and we show up for people when they celebrate some of the most precious things in life, be it birthdays, weddings, or sometimes funerals or other events. But we can't help people celebrate their life celebrations and we miss out on our own. I don't think that that's necessarily building a life that's worth living. So I take off almost every other weekend. If I want to take off, I want to take off. And it goes back to what Melissa says also, creating a menu. One of the biggest things that you can set up as far as a system, regardless of an autoresponder or auto reply, is set up menus that work for you. Set up things that do have a longer shelf life. Set up systems and processes to where, like Melissa said, you do let the customer know, hey, when you pick this up, this is how you hold it. This is how you contain it so that I can give it to you on a Wednesday or Thursday. And I don't feel guilty about not giving it to you on a Saturday. Also educating our customers and letting people know, look, when you pick this up, this is how you handle this product. But I don't think we should work every single weekend. I think we deserve to be with our families just like they should. That's what systems are for. So take it off, pencil it in, and live your life.
Amen.
So Emily, I thought about
Hallelujah.
when Amanda was talking that I completely forgot to say is about I put my phone on do not disturb. And like that sleep function or whatever iOS you have on your phone, I'm sure they all have some type of feature where you can be like, I am not available. And, you know, the great thing about, well, can't speak for all iOSs, but for iPhone, you can have a do not disturb, but then you can have your favorites who can still get through. And so that's something that really helps me, because I am one of those people. As soon as I see a message, I feel like, oh my gosh, like I got to get to it right now. Like otherwise they're going to, you know, because I've been in the past one who was always available and, you know, willing to respond, always being helpful. And I've had to shift my mindset. And in order to hide those things from myself, I put myself on do not disturb. My phone is automatically set to go on do not disturb at a certain time at the end of the night. I don't even realize it's happened until I might look at my phone randomly at like 8:45 and I'm like, oh, I missed all these text messages. I didn't even realize this has happened. But it has helped me tremendously to not have some sort of anxiety of, oh my gosh, I got to get to this person, because I know that if it hits 9 o'clock, and even if they've texted me at 6 o'clock, once my do not disturb hits, I know I'm not responding back to this message, this Instagram notice or whatever. So that's something that's helped me too.
Brett, any other tips to add?
Yeah, I want to second like 100% everything Amanda just said. Pencil yourself in, book yourself for yourself. That's the whole reason you're in business, is to free up your life. And it's funny because it's like you're going to work and work and work and look back and realize, what were you working for? Well, I was working to have the life I wanted, and I missed it because I was working so much. So you gotta remember what you're doing it for. And like I'll bring out my calendar and I'll say, yeah, this weekend it's for me. I block it out. Nothing's happening. And I tell my husband, I'm like, this is our weekend. Don't let me take anything. And I taught him, and I'm trying to teach my little boy to be like my policeman, I guess. When I'm pulling out my phone, I'm like, ask me, do you need to be doing this right now? And I'm allowed to answer yes if it's really important, but most of the time the answer is no. And so having them to kind of be my soundboard with that helps a lot. And I love going on vacation with, like, that really is, I make my money so I can do things like that. That's the whole purpose. So don't miss out on that. And I feel like, again, it just goes back to being so afraid that if that we're trading time for money, and that if we're not putting in more time, we're not going to make as much money. And then really what it is we trade value for money. And it's not always about putting in time. You know, what people pay you for is the things you create, your expertise and your brand, and what you bring to the table as an artist. And it doesn't always have to be about your time. And I like to shift that mindset of like, to make money, I have to put in time all the time. And it doesn't have to be that way.
I feel like I'm like, when I'm gonna go back through this transcript, like I'm gonna like write down like, you know, inspirational quotes for bakers or something. That's gonna be like the next cast iron blog post.
Yeah.
You guys are sharing so much goodness.
That's a good idea.
So I've got a couple of questions that I want to knock out quickly before we hop over to the audience questions. So, you know, let's think like 1 or 2 sentences, just quick ways to help our attendees prep for the holidays. How early for your orders? You know, whether that's getting your marketing in order, taking your photos, things like that, or actually pre-making components of your products. How early do you start prepping? Like for Christmas, you're starting when it comes to prep? Melissa, do you want to start?
Sure. Yeah. So for me, I actually use September as my Q4 planning. So I do everything basically. So I still have a couple Christmas things. I'm not totally sure if I need to rephotograph or not. So I didn't make those, but I've done already selling Hocus Pocus stuff for this premiere that's happening this weekend, you know, so all of that, all of fall and, you know, through the like Thanksgiving-ish timeframe. And so marketing campaigns, I'll have all those photos and everything about 3 weeks out. I'll start mentioning things. 2 weeks, 1 week is when it's really like, here's how you order. And then I know that part of that was the pre-sales. So when I set the date, I do like a wait list or a launch, and then I take orders, and then I end it either when I'm sold out or when I have to start production. I shut everything down, I start producing, and then I have a wait list for any stragglers. And then if I have extra stuff, I send out a wait list email, and it's like first come, first serve. So that's how I sell the rest of the product.
Yes, I love it. Brette, how early do you start prepping?
This is a funny question for me because I've kind of stopped doing holiday sales because that was part of my aha moment. I was like, these don't make the money I want them to, and they're not leveraging my business the way that I want them to. And so I haven't done one in a while, like a holiday sale, just because it didn't fit anymore in the construct of my business and in the direction that I was trying to go. But when I do sales, small things like that, I start prepping far in advance. Like Melissa was saying, it's like 6 months in advance. I'm starting to think like Christmas time, like what do I feel like I want to sell? And I'm really strategic about what I decide to sell, because some things look really fun and we get caught up in like, ooh, I want to make that. And it's a lot of different components. And it's like, that's going to be a headache to make. And also you want to make something that people actually want to buy, not just what looks fun to make, but think about what actually people want to have during the holidays. There was one holiday where me and my sister, we made cookie dough to sell. We were thinking like, oh, everyone wants some cookie dough. Wouldn't that be great? Turns out people want already made cookies. And so we did this wholesale of cookie dough, and we're so focused on what we wanted, what we thought was going to sell, what we thought would be good. And we should have been listening to our customers. But yeah, you want to start prepping far ahead of time, especially the marketing, like, and you don't have to have it all figured out. You can start just kind of throwing feelers out there, be like, hey, starting to think about the holidays. What do you guys want to see? Like, what should I be making? Or if you want to know when that sale opens, jump on my mailing list, and that way I'll let you know. And I promise I don't spam you with newsletters. I'll just let you know when the sale opens up so you can be first to know. And you can start laying those bricks far in advance. And I think one of our biggest struggles when we start up as bakers is it's like the week before Christmas and we're like, oh, I want to do a sale, and then it kills us. So the farther you go in advance, the better. And my last tip to share is with boxes, because if you have anything with a box, you can put those together like weeks and weeks in advance. And I've learned this so many times, because if you think about it, if one box takes you a minute to put together and you've got 80 of them, that's going to take you over an hour to put together boxes. So start doing those little things that maybe aren't sensitive to like refrigeration or time, like putting together boxes, printing tags, ribbon cutting, whatever it might be that you can do in advance. Like just do your future self a favor and get those things out of the way.
Yes, prep today for success tomorrow.
Yeah.
Sid, any thoughts on prepping?
Yes, well, I'm definitely, I'm 100% with Melissa on starting early, like in September. However, I have worked with folks who have started later. And I think it really all boils down to your connection to your clients and your community. So for instance, getting the marketing together, and if you already have an email list that you send emails to on a weekly basis, then it's something that you can just start sending out those like helpful holiday planning tips and some things that kind of get people's ideas of flowing, selling without selling, right? And so to me, that's one of the, like, it really just depends on your relationship, right, with your clients, really, at the end of the day. Because some folks, I mean, if you've got that connection with your clients and they already expect things to be coming from you, then you could start 2 weeks from Thanksgiving. You could just put it out there. Hey guys, we've got from last year, right? Like it's something that it's literally pictures you've had from last year. It's literally the same flavors. It's the same menu. It's everything else. You've got the template for the email together because you sent the email last year. Like, so you basically can start as early as 2 years ago because the holidays come around the same way every year. And so I feel like it just really depends on how you look at it, right? Like if you already have that connection with your tribe, then you could start 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, or you could start, 15 weeks before Thanksgiving, because you're not even really talking about Thanksgiving, right? Like you're just talking about how I can help you with whatever the holiday celebration is. I'm giving you ideas. I'm taking you to my blog. I'm doing all these fun things to get you excited because I'm excited about the holidays. So I just feel like there's no right answer. It just really all depends on your expertise, your experience in the past. If you're brand new, then this is a perfect opportunity to try something new, right? Because you've never done this before, so you're not exactly sure what's going to work with your community. So I definitely just say, you know, focus on the marketing and focus on adding value to your client base. You know, get the communication out there to them, and go from there.
I want to add to that. Can I add a tidbit to that? I love that you were saying you can start that early, because it's a marketing statistic, a marketing fact, that it takes an average of 7 times someone seeing your product or your business or your brand before they remember it and before they trust it or feel comfortable enough to buy from it. That's 7 times. And a lot of you bakers out there, you get on for a sale and you'll post it once and you feel like you were just in the spotlight. You feel like everybody just saw that. Everybody just like didn't buy it, you know, and you start to really retreat and go back in yourself. But really warming people up to it, like 7 times they have to see it. And I've seen that in my own buying, where someone's like, hey, I'm selling caramel. I'm like, oh, I'm interested in that. And I don't buy. But then they post it again. I'm like, oh no, I really would like that. And after a few times, I'm like, okay, yes, I'm finally ready to buy it. And that's what's happening with people. So you want to be preparing to help get in that exposure to whatever it is you're selling. Like, don't expect that you can just roll up once, pitch a sale, and it's all going to come flowing in. Like, it takes a conversation, and it takes prepping your audience, just like Sid was saying, getting them ready for what's coming.
It's funny you say the stats too, because that reminded me of something I talked about this past weekend when I was in Vegas. Is that, hold on, let me make sure I have it right. 1.94% reach engagement rate on Instagram. So that means only 1.94% on average of your followers will actually see your post and engage with your post. And so you have to think about that in a way of like, well, do I really just want to post it one time? Do I just want to post it one time in my feed? Do I want to post it as a carousel? Do I want to post it in my stories? Do I want to post it on TikTok? Do I want to put it in all the different places, right? Like you said, there's, 7 times that people need to hear it, but that doesn't necessarily mean 7 times in an email either. It could be 7 times on the various different platforms that you have for your brand. So
yeah, no, that's a really good point, because it's not about just rolling up and saying like, buy from me, buy from me, buy from me 7 times. It's about connecting with them 7 times in a valuable way, like creating that value for them where they trust you. So I'm glad that you added that.
Yes, amazing. I know we are running short on time, and I want to be mindful of everyone's time. So I'm going to ask one last question before we jump to audience questions. In one sentence, one easy, quick tip that everyone listening today can implement right now, today, maybe tomorrow. It's late for me, so we can hold till tomorrow. But one thing you can do today to start improving your work-life balance. And Brette, do you want to go first?
Yeah, make a plan.
Make a plan. Sid.
I was going to say set boundaries.
That's a good one.
I feel like I stole Melissa's.
Amanda, what tip would you give?
I probably stole Sid. Set boundaries. Yeah. But
yes.
Prioritize yourself.
Melissa.
It was going to be about boundaries, but maybe just look at your calendar and take off 1 week this month and 1 week next month and just black them out completely with Sharpie so that you can't write anything over top of it, and start there with your boundaries.
Yes. So if you didn't hear, everybody said set boundaries. So if you are not getting the highlighted bold text here, it is set boundaries. All right, let's shift into some audience questions. Courtney wants to know, how do you choose what to say no to? Melissa, you want to take that?
Yeah, real quick. So I have the minimum set. I suggest setting a minimum in amount, like money amount or baking amount, based on what you can do and what you need to make to start up your oven. And then if you don't like doing it, don't do it. So try to figure out a way to make the stuff that you like. It might not be your most favorite thing in the world, but something that people want and that people like, and find that happy medium and make that, and not the thing that you just despise that makes you want to cry.
Yes. All right. Luann and Caitlin both asked, what systems can you share that have helped you manage your time better? Sid, do you want to take that one?
Yeah, so I use Google. And when I say Google, I mean like my domain name is connected to Gmail. And so whenever I check my email, info@thesweetfest.com, I'm actually logged into Gmail. And so if you open up like a new email message and you see the send button, there's actually a little button right next to it that's a down arrow. If you tap that, then you can actually schedule your emails to go out at a certain time. So that's one of my main ways to kind of manage myself. I also use email automation. I have a lot of automation set up behind the scenes using this company called MailerLite, which is very similar to like a MailChimp or a Constant Contact or some of the other guys. But also I know Cast Iron has a system as well that sends out automated emails for folks kind of, to tell you what's the new products that have come out and all that kind of stuff. So you can definitely use that as well. And then I also use Calendly to schedule my time. So if I ever have someone who, messages me and they want to have a consultation or they want to talk about whatever, then I send them the Calendly link. That's also something that has helped me in the past to manage if someone comes to me from Instagram or Facebook or wherever they've DM'd me, then now I can send them one place and say, all right, let's talk. But now, unless you're on my calendar, and this is how you get on my calendar, then I don't know that our conversation even happened. So those three have helped me tremendously.
I love it. Amanda, I'll shoot this question over to you. When someone refuses to schedule a pickup time or they miss their pickup time consistently, what do you do?
Throw their order in the trash. So here's the thing. Everything that you buy from me is prepaid. I'm a firm believer in you train people how to treat you. So I can't be a doormat for what I allow you to do to me. When I say yes to you, I'm saying no to myself. So when you buy from me, you pay in advance. I give you a pickup time. It's scheduled in your invoice. If you don't pick up in 15 minutes, I throw it in the trash and I'm not giving you a refund. And it may come off as mean or harsh, or most of you guys who follow me, I'm more tough love person, but it's just that. Because here's the thing about it. You said multiple times. So it's kind of like a fool me once, shame on, you fool me twice. That means that you're allowing it to happen. Usually when a person feels that they can get over, people try to test you to a certain limit, and it sucks. But that's the price of when you're a locally owned business, people know your face. Kind of like the old show, Little House on the Prairie, like everybody had a job, we all knew the store clerk and the person like that. So sometimes people can feel maybe it's easier to drop the ball on miscommunication, but yeah, I just throw your order away. You need to let that person go and, hey, this is my time. It is what it is. I have to prioritize myself. If you're not here, I'm going to discard your order, and that's that. Yes,
tough love. Someone's got to do it, right? All right, one last question. I'll hand this over to Brette. We've got April, who just started her business, plans to sell her first ever fall cupcakes. Now she knows that she needs to post it more than just on October 1st. She says she never wants to bother people, but how much time should she put between the posts? How should she think about her posting schedule? And we had another question on a similar note about like the 80-20 rule. How do you think about social, Brette?
Honestly, I feel like I've been a little bit disenchanted with all the rules we give ourselves for social media in the past year, and how it's like, 80-20 or entertain, engage, emotion, like all these different rules that people set and different ways you can learn how to do social media. But I feel like I want it to be more genuine again. And like I was saying before, you feel like you're in the spotlight, April, and all you other bakers, you feel like, oh, I should just stop talking about this. People are getting bothered. And they really aren't. When you show up and post, they're excited for you, whether they like it or comment or anything. People are seeing it and they're going like, oh my gosh, I'm so, that's so cool that April's doing that. And you might not hear that, you might not see that in the feedback you're getting on the post, but it's happening and people are thinking that's cool. And you're also like setting this example of like, oh, April's doing that, maybe I could do something like that. So it doesn't have to be a scary thing. It's not about bothering people. When I see somebody get on, even if I don't buy from them, my friend who sells like 10-layer Russian cakes, if I don't buy from her, I'm still like, way to go, Darby. That's the coolest thing. And nobody is shaming you for it. And if they are, then they need to get out of there because it's the coolest thing what you're doing. I like to tell people at least once a day, get on and connect with people, remind them that you're there, share some value, and invite them to order from you. Invite them into this beautiful story that you're writing through the baked goods that you make. At least once a day is a good standard, especially if you're coming into this for the first time. Like, that's a good standard to start from, at least once a day. But I also take Saturdays and Sundays off from posting because I am a 5-day-a-week on social media kind of gal. Unless I have something really exciting to share, I like to just post Monday through Friday. So that would be my advice to you.
Yes, and don't forget that, you know, even a quick Instagram story can count as connecting with your community.
Yeah,
you don't have to
absolutely.
always be, you don't have to be posting, you know, award-winning photographs on your feed every day.
Oh yeah, and it doesn't have to be like a crazy reel. Like, don't worry about the reels. Just get on and be there. Show up, raise your hand, be visible, be vulnerable. Like, it's gonna work.
Yes, it's all going to work out. Well, thank you all so much for joining us. I will be sending out a follow-up email with all of our awesome coaches' contact information, social media information, so you can connect with them. Follow all of our panelists. We've got Melissa at Build a Better Bakery on Instagram, Sid at sweet_fest on Instagram. We've got Amanda at Baking for Business on Instagram, and Brette at the.outofhome.baker on Instagram. Keeping it interesting with the periods in the username. I see you, Brette. Yeah, thank you all so much for joining. Again, this was recorded, so we will send out the recording afterwards, but I really appreciate you all taking the time. Any final words from the panelists?
Good luck. Good luck with the seasonal sales. Enjoy your time. Make sure you're penciling yourself in first, like we all said.
Yeah, and also ask for help. You got all these resources out here and available, and I feel like, you know, getting in the kitchen group as well as, you know, using our contact information. You know, we all have been through, you know, however many years individually of, you know, going through holiday season. And so make sure that you use your resources. Obviously, we are all lovely smiling faces and offering up our help to be on here tonight. And so I'm sure that, you know, I don't want to speak for everybody, but I feel like I can speak for everybody when I say that we are here to help.
Yeah, I love that. And do what makes you happy. That's one of the biggest. I did see someone ask, what should I sell? And the truth is, none of us can answer that for you. So as you plan for the holidays, the biggest tip, and Sid mentioned it, and I just wanted to throw it in there real quick. Whatever worked for you last year will work for you this year. It's called sales forecasting. So you need to look at what has worked for you in the past. As creatives, we always want to create. We always want to come up with something new. So we always have on our creative hat and not our business owner hat. As you plan for the next 3 months, make sure that you're planning based on what has worked already. So do things that allow you to bring in more of a profit, and also do things that don't allow you to work. Like how Brette said, have a holiday kit. That means you bake it, let them decorate it. Have classes. That means you show up, but you can use a free resource such as Zoom. You walk people through something and you make more money. So don't worry about the cocoa bombs, the trends and all of that. Do what makes your customers happy. And that's how you'll make more money for the holidays.
And
Amen.
I want you all to remember that each one of us stood exactly where you stand. Each one of us one time was you trying to figure it out. So if we can do it, why not you? Absolutely.
Yes, I love it. Well, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate you taking the time. Thank you everyone for joining us. I hope that you are walking away with some tips, some good actionable items to take into the holiday season, and best of luck on all of your holiday orders, on your entire food business. We're all here to support you, so please reach out to us if any of us can be of help. Thank you all, guys. We'll see you soon.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. See you later.